Part 3, The Happy Prince. Now, the next job which was given to the, or the next work which was given by the Happy Prince to the swallow was to take out one of his sapphire from his eyes and give it to a young man who lived in the garret. He was a playwright. Now we'll see. I'm beginning to be appreciated, he cried. This is from some great admirer. Now I can finish my play, and he looked quite happy. Now, when the young man he saw the sapphire on his withered violets, dried flowers, he said that he is beginning to be appreciated. Appreciated means the people have started praising him, and he thought that some great admirer, some of his great liker, somebody has liked him so much that he has sent this sapphire, and so he became so happy that he said now could finish his play. The next day, the swallow flew down to the harbor. Harbor means port. Now the swallow went to the port. He sat on the mast of a large vessel. Mast is again large pole. एक पोल होता है शिप के बीच में. He sat there. Vessel means large ship, and watched the sailors working. I'm going to Egypt, cried the swallow. But nobody minded. And when the moon rose, he flew back to the happy prince. And in the night, again he went to the happy prince. I've come to bid you goodbye, he cried. So he said that he came there to bid him goodbye, to say goodbye. Swallow, swallow, little swallow, said the prince. Will you not stay with me one night longer? It is winter, answered the swallow, and the snow will soon be here. In Egypt, the sun is warm on the green palm trees, and the crocodiles lie in the mud and look lazily about them. And then he explains that it will snow there at that place, and then in the Egypt it is very very warm. In the square below, now square is open space, okay, जो चौराहा होता है. In the square below, said the happy prince, there stands a little match girl. She has let her matches fall in the gutter. So the happy prince gives him one more work. He says in the square there lives one match girl, a girl with the matchsticks, and she has lost her matchsticks because they have fallen in the drain gutter, and they are all spoiled. Her father will beat her if she does not bring home some money, and she is crying. She has no shoes or stockings, and her little head is bare. And so there's that she has no socks, she has no stockings. Stockings are large stalks covering the legs, and her head, there is nothing to cover her head. Pluck out my other eye and give it to her. Then the prince command her to take out one more sapphire from his eyes and give her, and her father will not beat her. I will stay with you one night longer, said the swallow, but I cannot pluck out your eye. You would be blind then. Swallow, swallow, little swallow, said the prince, do as I command you. Do as he orders you. So he plucked out the prince's other eye and darted down with it. Darted again, he went back very fast over there. He swooped past the match girl. He rushed past, he just passed with the match girl and slipped the jewel into the palm of her hand. And he kept the jewel in her hand. What a lovely bit of glass, cried the little girl. And she ran home laughing. Then the swallow came back to the prince. You are blind now, he said, so I will stay with you always. No, no, little swallow, said the happy prince, poor prince. You must go away to Egypt. No, I'll stay with you always, said the swallow. And he slept at the prince's feet. All the next day he sat on the prince's shoulder and told him stories of what he had seen in strange lands, in the far off lands, whatever the bird saw, he told the prince. Dear little swallow, said the prince, you tell me of marvelous things, but more marvelous than anything is the suffering of men and women. So the prince says that you tell him all the marvelous means all the wonderful, very astonishing things, surprising things. He says, but the more marvelous thing is the heart sufferings of men and women. There is no mystery so great as misery. He says there is no mystery. There is nothing so secret as the misery and happiness of the people. Fly over my city, little swallow, and tell me what you see there. Then he tells her, you can fly and tell how the people are suffering. So the swallow flew over the great city and saw the rich making merry in the beautiful houses. And the swallow says that the rich people, they were very happy. They were very, very happy living in the beautiful big houses, while the beggars were sitting at the gates. He flew into the dark lanes Dark lanes means dark streets where there was no light, no hope, and saw the white faces of the starving children looking out listily at the black streets. And he saw that the children there are starving, they were hungry, and they were looking very sadly, listily at the black streets. Under the archway of a bridge, two little boys were lying in each other's arms to try and keep themselves warm. And then he saw that under the bridge there were two boys. They were lying in each other's arms to keep themselves warm. How hungry we are, they said. You must not lie here, shouted the watchman. And they both were talking that how hungry they were. And then the watchman told them that they should not lie under the bridge also. And they wandered out into the rain. And then poor people, they did not have any house. And then they roamed out into the rain. Then he flew back and told the prince what he had seen. I am covered with fine gold, said the prince. You must take it out, take it off, leaf by leaf, and give it to the poor. The living always think that can make them happy. So the prince again gave him some work. He says that he was covered with all gold. He says you pluck out one by one the leaves of the gold and give it to the poor. He says the people, the living people who are living on the earth, they always are happy with the gold, with the riches, whereas the dead people, they lose all charm. Leaf after leaf of the fine gold the swallow picked off, and then swallow picked off. Picked off means took off. धीरे धीरे वो निकालता रहा उसके सारे leaves till the happy prince looked quite dull and grey. And now the happy prince looked very dull and very grey. Dull means very unimpressive. There was no more attraction in it. And very, very grey brown. Leaf after leaf of the fine gold he brought to the poor, and the children's faces grew rosier, and they laughed and played in the street. We have bread now, they cried. And when the swallow, he took the leaves of the fine gold to the poor, naturally the children's faces, they grew very rosier, very bright, and they laughed and played in the street, and they were so happy crying that they have bread. Then the snow came, and after the snow came the frost, and then came the winter season, the snow came. ओके एंड आफ्टर द स्नो केम द फ्रॉस्ट. खूब सारा वहाँ पर जो है फ्रॉस्ट आ जाता है, खूब सारा बर्फ आ जाता है. द स्ट्रीट्स लुक्ड एज इफ दे वर मेड ऑफ सिल्वर एंड द स्ट्रीट्स वर ऑल कवर्ड विद स्नो. Everybody went about in the furs, and the little boys wore scarlet caps and skated on the ice. And everybody went in the furs means they wore the animal skin. They wore the coats and all made from animal skin to keep them warm. And the little boys, they wore scarlet caps, red caps, and skated on the ice. You know what's a skated? They moved on the skates. This is all in this video. Thank you.